So I'll have it set up.
My question is,
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
Feeling great. Yeah. I feel great. My life is finally getting back in order.
All right, great. Well, we have just one more guy who's joining us here. Emily's coming on right now, and then I know you got a busy evening, but then we'll get you out of here. Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, of course. No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the interest.
Yeah, you got it. Now, I know they're online. It's Smooth Recess, but how do you like to be referred to? Is it Alexander? Is it what do you like to be called?
Alexander's good, or you can call me Chicken Man, whatever you think whatever you think that the people would like to hear. I'm fine with.
All right, cool. We'll call you Alexander, and we'll just go off and running. And if you need to get out of here, just let us know, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Drew,
yeah,
let me
yeah,
know whenever we're going here. I'm Steve. Dan's there, and Emily's there, and yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
I am just going to tweet out the link real fast to the live stream. Dan or Steve, if you want to retweet that on Liberty Ballers. If not, it's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But after I do that, then we can go.
All right, cool. Let me know whenever that's out there.
you look very nice, Alexander.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm all dolled up for work.
Nice. Where do you work? We won't
Bark-
talk about that
Bark-
live, but
Barclay Prime.
okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, it is tweeted. Steve, whenever you do that, we will be good to go.
All right, that's done.
Okay, sweet. It's public. All right, I'm going to hit record. When you hear record, you're good to go.
All right. Hi, welcome to the Gastroenteritis Blues. My name is Steve Lippman, joined as always by Emily Cannell, Dan Volpone, and we have a very special guest with us today. You surely know him. His real name is Alexander Tominsky. You know him online as Smooth Recess, at Alex Icon Tom. He is known very popularly in Philadelphia because he ate 40 rotisserie chickens for 40 consecutive days in Philadelphia. He's a very popular guy, and we're very happy to be joined by him now to talk more about that very special feat. Alex, how are you, Alexander? How you doing?
I feel great. I feel like my body has finally built itself back to its original stature. My gut seems to be pretty healthy. And my overall mental state is pretty good, but it's still a little bit overwhelming considering the amount of interest in the whole chicken situation.
I mean, it really took the world by storm. I mean, we just from our perspective, we've interviewed Kate Scott, who does the Sixers games. We've interviewed a guy who's on the Sixers now, Paul Reed, U.S. presidents, everybody. But we have been excited for nobody more than you, and we're just very happy to have you on. I'll just start off. We've got some questions for you. Take us through the journey with the rotisserie chickens. How did it begin, and when did you notice that people were starting to really take notice of what you're doing?
Yeah, so it started quite simply. I was hungry one day before work, so I grabbed the rotisserie chicken and started eating it. And maybe it was like a spell of madness, but something about it seemed really special, and I decided to record each day. So each day I would take a picture of the poultry, and it wasn't until day 11 I decided to start sharing it publicly. And I had 500 Twitter followers, so it wasn't too many people watching. And then on Instagram, I'd only post it to my close friends group stories. And yeah, kept doing that, and then decided to really share it with the world. So I made a poster and threw it up around East Passyunk mostly. And that's when it really took off, and started posting it on Instagram to, all the people in my my friends group. And then the Twitter followers started coming in, and it just started to gain traction. People really enjoyed watching someone eat for some reason. Not really sure why.
I have to ask, like why, when did you set the goal of 40 days? Was that the original goal, or did that kind of come into be?
So the original goal was 7, and then it went to 30. And then the number 40 represents perseverance, whichever one, and rebirth, which is pretty interesting. So I felt like that was a number that just made good sense. And 40 is definitely cooler than 30.
And I got to ask, you were very adamant that this was not a party. I got to know why. Why was this not a party? And were you worried that people were going to make it a party?
Yeah, I mean, I just like the idea of people quietly or just respectfully observing someone eat a rotisserie chicken on an abandoned pier near Walmart. Something about that seemed a little bit more interesting than a bunch of people just pounding beers, watching someone eat. Definitely made it a different vibe, which I think worked out beautifully. There's children there, there was elderly there, all sorts of different demographics. Just felt right.
So how difficult was it for you to do this? Was it more difficult physically or mentally?
Both. So when I first started eating the chicken, and I would do it in one sitting, it would take about 20 minutes. And towards the end, it took about 2 hours. And then the day on the pier, it was 1 hour. And since we're outside, the chicken dried out really quickly, made it challenging. It was also mentally difficult, because when you're going to a grocery store every day and buying a rotisserie chicken, there's been days where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But something came over me. I was like, I just got to keep doing it. I know all the people at the grocery store probably think I'm a lunatic, which I may be, but had to push through and kind of get over that little mental block for myself as well. So.
What was the hardest day or stretch of days? Because I imagine maybe 40 wasn't the toughest day. Maybe it was somewhere in the middle. What was the worst time?
The worst time was probably day 32 to 38, because that's when my body really started reacting to the amount of sodium.
It's a big stretch.
Yeah. I was bloated, had constant heartburn. My esophagus was all raw from the heartburn and the reflux. And in order to even swallow the chicken, I just had to mash it up in my mouth to make it like a paste. And it was the only way I could swallow it. It was it was actually really bad. But the thing that's funny is all these weightlifters and whatnot, they're like, oh, I do that. I've been doing that for years. The difference is, it might be easy for you, but it was hard for me. I never said I was a hero for eating chicken. I think people just liked the idea that this was a challenge for me, and they decided to get behind that.
So what were your other meals like during the day? I assume you didn't just eat chicken for 40 days.
Yeah. So when I started, it was a little bit of yogurt and a carrot or something at the end of the night, maybe an IPA or whatever. And then towards the end, when I started having stomach issues, I had no appetite for any food. Even drinking water, as much as it should have been an easy task, was difficult because my stomach was just so irritated and upset. It actually took 4 days after the 40th day to even start to develop an appetite again.
So that leads me into my question. Did you consult with any medical professionals throughout this process? Would that be cheating, or how did that work?
No, I should have, but I didn't want to psych myself out.
What about afterwards?
I should have gotten blood work, but I haven't. Maybe I will soon enough. But I've been trying to eat pretty healthy and drinking a lot of water, and I feel good, hitting the sauna every day, trying to sweat it out.
You look great. I mean, you're no worse for the wear. We didn't see you before this necessarily, but you look great.
I feel great.
Our podcast is called the Gastroenteritis Blues. It's like an inside joke about the Sixers. For years have had gastrointestinal issues. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, and you can pass on this. Did you have any gastrointestinal issues as a result of the chicken eating on a daily basis?
Yeah, it was funny. It was either seldom or very fluid, if that makes sense.
Got it. No, it makes sense. I'm picking up.
There was no in between. Yeah, there was. It was a little bit volatile, but always not a pleasurable one.
Got it. Understood.
Have you were you interested in like food challenges or like professional eating before this? Like, have you ever watched like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest and idolized Joey Chestnut or what?
No, I mean, I respect all that stuff, but I don't really follow it and didn't even think of it as like one of those sort of challenges when it started. It was just something I was doing. I did host an egg eating contest once, maybe like 11 or 12 years ago. That was pretty fun. There was a lot of peeling to be done. My hands were all fucked up, but had a good turnout for the egg eating. It was almost like the predecessor for the chicken thing.
So since you completed your mission, what?
Thank you for the support. Pat, good to see you. Yeah, thank you. I'll see you later tonight. Hold on 1 second.
You're fine.
Go ahead.
Perfect lead into my question.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere anymore.
He's famous.
It's unreal.
You could say the egg came before the chicken for him.
For him, it did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Real.
You'll see me in some capacity. All right, see you. Thank you. Yeah, this stuff happens all the time. It's weird.
This
This
is
is my
unbelievable.
exact question. Like, what is your life like now that you are, famous throughout the city?
It's pretty cool. People come over and they cheer me on, or they give me the thumbs up, or like thumbs down. It's there's some haters for sure. But I think overall people tell me that it really brought a little bit of joy to their life, and it was like a kind of like a lighthearted, nonsensical thing that resonated with people in different ways. So I'm happy about that.
I do have to say, it was really, I don't know if you are following the Phillies in the World Series, but it was really perfect timing. It's like you took the city out of their like depression and gave us something to like love online, and it was great.
Yeah, it was surprising, the timing. Actually, I was pretty happy that I could cheer up the city. I was unhappy that the Phillies lost, of course, but I'm happy that people found an outlet to unite and sort of celebrate something.
So, you mentioned this is your second poultry related challenge with you had the egg eating contest, and you had you had, not a contest, but your own, chicken challenge to yourself. Is there anything else? I'm sure it's not chicken that, might come in the future, even if you don't know what it is now. Like, might we see something where, you have another challenge towards yourself coming forward?
The only challenge I'm working on now is living my life. That's all I got. That's all I have in mind.
Yeah. And so this is a bit of a philosophical one for you. Obviously for you, the eggs came before the chicken, but in a larger sense, what came first here, the chicken or the egg?
That's something I'm going to have to keep considering. Yeah, maybe I'll have to do one more challenge to figure out, like just eat raw chicken and eggs for like 10 years. And
I don't think you want to commit to that.
So as we've mentioned, we are a Sixers podcast who just dabbles in lots of other stuff, but are you a Sixers fan? You have any comments on any of the sports seasons going on these days?
Philly, we dig deep, we drive it, and I love everything Philadelphia. There's actually a few I'm excited to say with the restaurant I work at, so have like a little bit of a, I don't know, not a real personal relationship, but more powerful understanding of who these people are, which makes it pretty cool as well. Hey, but I do have to run. Is that okay?
That's okay. Yeah.
I'm actually on the clock right now. I might get in trouble.
No, you're good. We really appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
And I'm sorry that I had to run so early, but I appreciate you guys, and thanks for taking the time to ask me those questions.
No, you're good, man. Thank you so much for doing
great work.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you. Well, there he goes. Just an incredible thing to happen. That was Alexander Tominsky, aka Smooth Recess, at Alex Icon Tom on Twitter. The guy who ate 40 consecutive rotisserie chickens. That's really it. The one question we did not get to ask him, I know everybody's at home wondering, when are you going to ask him? Is a lamb a sheep, or did you know that a lamb becomes a sheep? That was the one thing I was unable to ask him. So we'll have to tweet at him and get that on the record. All right. So we're going to use our ad break here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Sixers for whatever it's worth. Here's a break. We're back. Now, this is the first time the three of us have been together since Emily's big news. Emily, how are you doing? Great to see you. You almost surely didn't listen last week, but I tried to do a thing. I didn't know that you ended up.
I did.
You did.
Listen.
Oh, okay. Because you heard then. I tried to do a thing where I wanted Dan to load up Instagram where he saw it, and I got to see him seeing it, but you already told him.
But
Anyway.
I had texted him the week before. Yeah.
Right. How you doing?
I'm good.
Great.
I actually have a
Dan?
cold right now, so I probably sound like garbage, but
No, that's okay. Pre-podcast, Dan was saying that he had been sick recently, but Dan's back on the up and up.
Getting there.
All right. Well, in the Sixers world, they just won a back-to-back over the weekend. That, the last time we had a podcast, the Sixers were up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, and I was really sure that they were going to fire Doc Rivers any day now. Turns out they win 2 games. What was it? Atlanta and Utah?
Yes.
Back-to-back. And Joel just loses his mind. Loses it, scores 101 points over 2 days. And the Utah game in particular, he had 59 points. What was the full stat line here? 59 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 blocks. Truly, maybe the best game I've ever watched somebody play individually. No other Sixer could hit a shot. It was just remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. Emily, what were your thoughts on Joel's weekend and just sort of the Sixers overall, if you'd like?
yeah, I actually fell asleep partially through the Utah game, and then I woke up in like the third quarter and noticed that Joel was like cooking. And so then it wasn't like I fell asleep to like go to bed. It was like I took a nap to stay up for the rest of the game, and then I couldn't fall asleep because I was like so jazzed up over Joel's thing. It was great. I guess it sounds like the Sixers had like a meeting on the plane on the way home from Atlanta, a kind of like quote unquote come to Jesus meeting. Like, we have to stop fucking around and like,
Oh, is that true?
start playing.
I didn't know that.
And it seems like it worked. I don't know.
I think Tobias talks to Joel about kind of his demeanor. Like, I don't think like calling him out in a way necessarily, but just kind of reminding him that, as his body language goes, as his effort goes, like no one else is picking up to step that up because everyone looks at him. Like as his goes, everyone else's goes. As his is there, everyone else's is there. And I think that's very correct. I think that's true. So.
And I think like Joel seems to respond to it, as we can see. So fine by
Yeah.
Tobias. I'm happy he did it.
Oh yeah. I mean, oh yeah.
Totally.
I think, he's probably one of the guys that has the respect of Joel to say that. And, he's right. And, I think you saw, in the Utah game, the Sixers went down 14 to a Utah team who's been playing well, and the Sixers haven't, although they did beat Atlanta. Second half of a back-to-back, it would be easy to, maybe mail it in a little. And they didn't. And, really Joel's the one who picked them up, which we, haven't really seen him do much in games the Sixers are down that big early. Like, I feel like in the NBA, everyone's always still in it, but the Sixers, it felt like haven't been. Sixers go down, it's over. Other teams go down, it's a long game. Sixers go down, done. But especially to good teams. But that wasn't the case, and I think that was a positive to see.
Yeah, so I must have missed the either quotes or articles about the meeting on the plane or Tobias talking to Joel, but good on Tobias for doing that, because if that helps him in that way, I think that's like for sure needed, because Dan talked especially about it last week, but like Joel's body language when things aren't going well or when his shots aren't going in or when they're losing definitely is poor. Like it can be bad, and it's like they all go as he goes, and that's in both ways, in terms of his play and also just like the way that he looks like he's into it. Like our buddy AU wrote something over the last couple of days, which is like, we've been miserable about the Sixers season so far because he has in the, at least in the first few games, over the weekend, he was great. And so we were excited. But I think he has a good point. And it's like, even in wins when he's like struggling through them, so are we. And I think it's, but it's so great to see him have a career night like that and see the whole NBA universe talking about him. It's a lot of fun. And I just have not seen, obviously I've not seen him have a game like that. I, of course, wanted him to get 60. I wanted him to get the triple double, the whatever, 55-point triple double. Didn't happen. Tobias smoked a couple layups at the end that would have been Joel assists, was killing me. But what can you do? Kyle Neubeck had a report right before the weekend that the Sixers are nowhere close to firing Doc, essentially, that like there are multiple problems on the team and they're not going to fire him at least within the next few weeks. And that really took the wind out of my sails. I was like, listen, a couple more losses and Doc's out of here, and then we can really start the season. But then they won these games, and it's like, all right, lots of teams that are supposed to be good are not good and just yet. And, but it is, I guess I still have a little issue with like, what's the ceiling of the team with that head coach? But, where are you guys at right now in terms of just feelings on the team overall after this weekend? Like, is the Doc thing dampering your feelings on the team, or is it more like Joel's playing better, we're getting closer to a Harden return, and we'll see? Dan, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the downer answer, but like, it's not that I feel negatively about this team in particular. Like, I'm excited to see Harden come back. Joel's defense has been encouraging, and Harden coming back should really help the offense. I think they're a good team. It's frustrating though that like, this whole time the expectations for this team have been championship. Mm-hmm. Like, the expectations have been like, when is this team going to win? And we were hoping that's what this team could be coming into this year, like this particular roster. And yeah, like, Maxi's not hitting shots. Like, I think that'll come. But like, Tucker hasn't given him a lot. And I don't think he didn't take a shot in the last game. Like, that can't happen. And they just lost, any hope of getting, extra role players because this team isn't deep enough. Well, they just lost 2 out of their 3 remaining second-round picks in the tampering investigation. So they basically traded 2 seconds for Tucker and House, which and used their exceptions on him. So, not like phenomenal value there on a team that really needs to be working the edges. And, I don't think they're good enough right now. Like, they haven't shown that they're good enough. And Boston seems to have picked up where they left off. I mean, they just won the conference and they continue to look great. They just killed the Hawks, a team we just split with, and, looked really bad against in one of the games. Yes, without Harden, but still killed the Hawks.
Before the airplane thing. So, one of them,
but
one of them is, yeah.
Yes, but they killed the Hawks. So they still don't have Robert Williams. They didn't have Marcus Smart. They didn't have Malcolm Brogdon. They have a coach who just took over, like right before the season started. And it doesn't matter. They win. They keep winning.
Yeah.
And the Sixers don't. And it's like, oh yeah, like there's always like I could come up with a reason for a bunch of Harden's out, whatever, but they weren't winning when Harden was in. Embiid was struggling. Like, I'm still waiting for the two of them to, like, they look good together because they're both really good. And it's not like the Ben and Embiid thing where it's like they just don't fit and everyone's pretending they do and stuff. Like, they fit much better than that. But like, the team in general, and I'm not blaming the two of them, but hasn't, since Harden got here, it's not like they've been phenomenal, right? They didn't do that well in the playoffs, and they've struggled in the regular season. And like, part of it is they're not deep enough. And, part of it is, the guys who are their rotation players, like, still don't give them a lot of stuff consistently. You're not getting offense from Tucker. And Maxi's really struggling, and they're kind of too slow with their starting lineup, especially when Harden's back. And it just seems like a really poor job team building. And I'm not gonna get all worked up about how good Bassie and Joe look and whatever. I mean, it's probably on both Doc and Daryl. But like, just when it comes down to it, Daryl hasn't done a good enough job building this team. And I find it hard to, and I'll still watch the games, and, I'll still root for the team. And I still think that they can, win games. But the way they are right now, they're not as good as the Celtics. And like, I don't want to be like a big downer on the whole season because of that. But like, if we're being realistic, like, we've wanted this to be a championship team. That's been the goal for years. Every year it hasn't been, has been a disappointment. And it's hard to talk yourself into just lowering your expectations now. They don't look like a top team. And it's just a bummer. And I hope they get it together. Things can change. We saw how things changed with the Celtics in in a blink. Like, things could change. And I hope they do. And I hope that they, maybe get a big acquisition. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Like, who knows where this season is going? Lots of things can change, but it's just disappointing that it doesn't feel like they're there. It just feels like more of the same. And it's almost hard to get your hopes up when where this team seems to be headed.
Emily?
What was the question? I feel like that went in like 85 million directions.
I don't know.
The question was your optimism or pessimism on the team. Are you pessimistic that,
after a couple
Doc
wins
wasn't
like
fired,
that,
and
right?
Or you're like,
it doesn't look like Doc's getting fired anytime soon. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like Doc's getting fired anytime soon. I don't know that I thought that he was gonna get fired ever anyways. They just really seem to be riding with him. So I'm just going to choose to focus on, what I see on the court. And what I've seen on the court recently is good. Like, I mean, we've never, outside of the Jimmy Butler team, we've never had a roster that's like constructed well and that like fits. So we've been optimistic other years, and we're just, have to ride with what we've got. If they can keep winning, that's great. It's still early in the season. I'm just like, I don't really have a feeling one way or the other. I just think it's too early in the season. We don't really know what this team is yet. I don't think they know what they are yet. I hope that this is them kind of starting to figure it out, but I don't think they're there yet anyways.
Yeah, I think that overall, I'm probably closer to the Emily feeling of waiting and seeing than Dan's. Like, I don't feel, I've seen the sentiment online that like Daryl didn't build a good roster, but I do feel like 2 months ago, everybody was like, what a roster. Daryl had a like slam dunk offseason. This is the best team maybe Joel's ever had. Like everybody was talking like that. So, we're 14 games in, they're 7-7. Now, of course, if Tucker sucks and if Daniel House only has sex and doesn't play basketball, like if these things are true, then maybe we're in trouble, of course. Like, Daryl has to be like a guy who suffers the consequences of results that happen. Like that might not be fair, but that's just what happens. I'm not super panicking about Tucker. I'm not Daniel House, I have chosen to enjoy him, whether he plays well or plays poorly. I enjoy him. So I'm in wait and see mode mostly. I worry more when like Joel is looking like shit or when Harden looks like shit. And I big time worry about Doc when we get to the playoffs for sure. And I wish that Boston would lose ever. I wish, like, I get enraged when I see them winning every single game. But I guess I don't yet find myself feeling like this roster is screwed, but I do wish they had a small forward. Like, I wish that the team had a starting small forward. But I don't know if there was a like Harris trade to be had out there that didn't just make us worse, quantitatively. But I don't know, like, I guess I'm just not there yet to be like, the roster isn't good. I'm always ready to, rail against Daryl and think that people never blame him, but I don't think that I'm there yet in terms of like, the roster is flawed. Well, it's certainly not perfect, but yeah.
I mean, and I understand a lot of the guys they brought in, like the ideas that they play well off of Harden, but like Harden's not going to play 48 minutes. And, like all the money they're giving Tucker for him to not take a shot in the last game, like, and really like he hasn't been a consistent offensive player for him. Not that I expected him to be a 15-point a game guy, but like I expect him to take the corner threes when they're there and open. And, I expect him to be a more consistent defender. I mean, he looks.
That would be my bigger thing, is that I don't think the defense has looked excellent. And that's the one thing that I care about, honestly, with him, because he's still making like 45% of the threes he does take. The thing for me is like, he's getting blown by a bit. And it's like, boy, you really have to do the thing that you're supposed to be excellent at. Yeah. And he's not yet. Now, maybe he's just warming those old legs up, and we'll see. But
I mean, there is relevant concern with aging, right? Like 2 years ago, it was a big deal that he, and obviously you're not going to ever shut down Durant. Durant had a great series, but Tucker made things tough on him, made him work. And that was a big deal. And, he was considered a big part of that Heat defense that was very good. And he looks bad. Like, he's not playing, and he has some good play. He has good hands. And, he's pretty decent in like recovery under the basket. And he's he's a decent rebounder, but he is getting blown by. And like, you worry, like, is he like, are his hips not moving? Is he too slow? Like, those things go down with age. He's 37 now, and we have him till he's 39. So we'll see. But that worries me. That is my biggest worry.
Totally. Today, James Harden practiced at Sixers practice, and afterwards he said, "I feel good. He's on pace," and on pace would be like the 1 month timeline, which would put him right at the beginning of December to return. He says that he's been running on the anti-gravity treadmill. What does that mean? He's just suspended in air? I don't understand how it works. And Emily, you probably have these machines, do you?
No.
Great. And doing pool workouts, he has taken.
Doesn't know what you do.
He has taken off the boot and started to take jumpers. So he is progressing along. He doesn't look like he's 700 pounds. All good news. I know Emily misses the fat suit. It would be fun if he put the fat suit back on just for his media availability while he's doing this, and then took it back off when it's time to play.
It's a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. It's not far away from Halloween. It would be fun. Any comments on that other than get well soon, James?
Need him.
Great.
Need him back.
Needham, Massachusetts. What do we think of that? That's fun.
Is that a place?
Yeah.
All right.
Emily knows it, right? You work there. Great.
What?
All right.
I don't get
there was a Ben Simmons article that I feel like we do need to touch on. Did you guys read this? I know Dan must have. Emily, you did not. Did you see that it existed?
I think I saw like the headlines. The
Okay.
only Simmons thing I saw this week was that Joel scored more points in 2 nights than he scored all season, which I enjoyed.
So there was a Joel scored more at the time in one game than he scored all season. It was like 59-49. It was great. Shams had a story that came out the day after the Nets got blown out by the Kings. And Shams said, there has been building frustration surrounding Nets star Ben Simmons, availability and level of play, sources say. And then Simmons responded to Shams. He goes to Shams to give him a handful of quotes and said, I get the skepticism, but I think one thing with me is that I'm a competitor. I don't understand how that's a response. And also saying I get the skepticism from my teammates that I'm even injured is like, why do you get the skepticism? Shouldn't you be outraged that your current teammates think you're not even injured? Like,
how is the one thing with him that he's a competitor? He was just on a contender last year and sat out the whole year because he didn't want to play. That's not competitive.
So, according to multiple sources with direct knowledge of the situation, the frustration surrounding Simmons has been building in recent weeks with the organization. The coaching staff and players have been concerned about his availability and level of play, with some questioning his passion for the game. Even when he did play, Simmons' struggles in the first 9 games this season were a part of the Nets' frustration as well. Simmons just goes right to the Athletic and says, you're obviously not going to be happy when anybody's out, but for me, I've been dealing with the knee since the start of the season. It's been swollen. I had PRP injections. I had blood drained a couple of times. So it's not a made up thing, you know? It's a real thing. I want to win and play. I'm going to do what I can to get out there. There's only so much I can do about the perception. You can't make people believe, you know. They weren't there when I was on the floor and couldn't walk because of my back. They weren't there when I was in an ambulance getting taken to the hospital. People weren't there, so they don't know. This was the first episode I had. That was the first episode I had against Milwaukee. That was the first trigger of it right before COVID, the start of my back issues, but that's part of my journey. There's times when I couldn't walk. I had a dead foot. I think it was just asleep. Couldn't sleep. I had a lot of stuff going on with me physically to where it was tough, but there's only so much I can say for somebody to believe, you know? So obviously it's bad news bears that his teammates are questioning his availability. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's hurt, like there's nothing he can do about like recovering from, well, he says that his back is fine. He says that his back is fine, but his knee hurts him. Now, he might be saying that his back is fine, but he's not fully back. Like, you know, who knows? It takes a while to recover. He's playing like shit. So his teammates are frustrated that he's playing so poorly, and they were told that he's a virtuoso point guard. He's coming off the bench and playing a lot of backup center. He's fouling a lot of people. But the fact that it's so widely known right now that his teammates are so frustrated with him, and that Ben is just going directly on record to a reporter and combating these reports can't be like the move. I don't understand who in his camp is telling him to do this, but like he should just shut up and work and like just handle it in-house and stop talking.
Well, that's like the story of his camp, right? Is that they say things to the media that make things worse. So not a surprise.
What do you think of it?
Well, I just want to say, you know, my favorite part of the article was when Shams multiple times wanted to emphasize that Ben, even though they did lose by 30 to the Kings, Ben did just have his best game in a really long time, scoring 11 points, which Shams points out was the most points he scored since June of 2021. So I think that's phenomenal. And I'm sorry, no, since June of 2021, which is obviously more than a full season ago. He didn't play at all last season, and he played so bad to start this season. So I find it interesting. And yeah, I mean, it was bad. And I think it's a bad look if Ben's teammates are going to The Athletic to complain about him. If he is, hurt, I mean, he definitely has this knee thing, but, I think the overall, complaint that, he's just not playing well, and that basically he doesn't seem to like care enough, like that the passion's not there, has been a thing with Ben like since college. And so, I don't think it's surprising. I think that's a common theme. The fact that, this is happening so quickly, that people are being fed up so quickly, probably has to do with the fact that, yes, he was talked up, that he is generally a cocky person and that he's not playing well enough to back it up. So it doesn't really fly. And he's on a team that, is getting a lot of attention because they have a superstar and they're expected to be able to win. And he's, in their minds, not pulling his weight with that. So, obviously he is nowhere near the biggest mess on that team, but he is still a fun one to talk about for us because he's a former Sixer. And yeah, what else is new here?
I mean, it does remind me of last year in the playoffs. Brooklyn was, about to play, or was playing Boston in the playoffs, and great. And it was about to be game 4, and they're all saying Ben's going to play game 4. And like 2 hours before the game, it's like, oh, he's not playing. He's not.
Left the group chat.
Well, yeah, that wasn't true. But,
right.
He just didn't play. Now, obviously, there are other things at play with probably that particular point in time, but it's just has to go with how his teammates are thinking of him, because those are many of the same teammates, and it's just an issue. Emily, your thoughts now having heard a lot of the article?
I mean, none of it is surprising to me. I feel like this is a lot of the same stuff that was happening with Ben when he was here and not playing. I mean, yeah, he's playing there, but not well. Like, it was all like through the media, through people. He doesn't ever seem to like have close relationships with his teammates or like care about those relationships that much. It's kind of just like between him and, I think he just cares a lot about like people's perception of him and like what he looks like to the outside world. So I don't think that's like the best way if you're trying to like gel with a new team and like win games and build camaraderie and chemistry. But I mean, he seems to think it's working for him so far. So I don't know about that, but.
So the other Nets update, and this will transition a bit into our predictions and standings and all of that, is that Kyrie Irving sounds like he will be back as soon as Sunday for the Nets. The Nets said, here are 6 things you need to do in order to come back and prove that you're not anti-Semitic. You need to meet with a Jew. You need to meet with a few more Jews. You need to take a course on Jews not being evil. And he said, yeah, I don't want to do that. And they said, all right, well, you ready to come back? And he said, sure. So he's coming back. And he's going to sounds like he's going to come back Sunday, because somewhere in this, he became the victim in the scenario and he was wrongfully suspended somehow. I don't totally follow it, but Dave Chappelle has a lot to say about it, apparently. And it's great. And so, yeah, it looks like Kyrie will be in Philadelphia on Tuesday when the Nets come to Philly to play the Sixers. And my question for you guys is, will Ben Simmons play on Tuesday as well? Emily.
I mean, he has to. I mean, he doesn't have to.
I think so.
But like, going off what I said again, like that he cares so much about what people think. Like, it'll be a much bigger story if he doesn't play than if he does, even if he plays poorly. So I feel like he has to play.
He does have a lingering like knee thing that has been now happening for a few weeks. So he could pull up lame on that over the next couple of days, but you would think he would want to be out one of the next few games. So it's not just he plays every game and then he's out Tuesday. Dan, you seem to be thinking that he's not going to play Tuesday.
Listen, maybe he plays, but like if I had to bet on it, I would say he doesn't play. Like, I don't think he wants to. I think that
he certainly doesn't want to.
I think that he's scared to, and he will get fouled if he plays here, and he will go to the foul line, and he will miss his foul shots, and he might melt that. Like, I don't think he's going to play. I don't, and I hope he does. I think it would be awesome, but I don't think he will. It would be a fun thing to have everyone get to boo him and stuff, but I would just be surprised.
I mean, if the Nets get in the bonus, would they do hack a Ben? Like, or is that legit?
Ben wouldn't be in the game.
They would pull him out if they get in the bonus.
Yeah, I mean, he's already a bench player as is.
Yeah, he's only playing.
They're not going to leave him out there to risk that.
Yeah.
And I think Ben probably wouldn't drive to the basket to risk that. Like, but
no, I'm saying hack a Ben where they just.
No, I know, but I'm saying on top of that, I don't see Ben putting himself in a position to drive to the basket and get fouled during the game. But if there's a hack a Ben possibility, I mean, because it's not. This isn't like where you have the real debate where it's like Ben was an all-star this year, and now the Hawks are fouling him, but he's he's the guy you have on Trae Young. What do you do? This is like, this is a guy who's been bad all year. And on top of that is shooting below 50% from the foul line. It's not a what do you do? It's okay, let's get him out.
Yeah. All right. We'll get to that game in a second, but last week, so we already talked, the Sixers won both games over the weekend. I certainly predicted them to lose twice and then fire Doc. Neither thing happened. Emily, update us on the standings. I am getting shithoused, that's for sure, but just give us an update, please.
Do you guys remember what you picked last week?
I picked 2 losses.
I picked 1-1.
And so did you, Em.
No, I picked 2 wins.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
So
sounds good.
I am 7-7. Dan is 7-7, and Steve is 4-10.
Wait, Emily, are you 7-7 because you've only picked wins?
No, I picked some losses. I just managed to do it once again.
I think she's picked 2 losses and split them.
Wait, what did you say?
4 whole losses.
Okay, so what did you say my record is?
4-10.
Great. All right, so I've got some catching up to do. This week, correct me if I'm wrong, but this week, the Sixers on Friday started back-to-back. The schedule's all weird. We just had 4 off days this week. It's so strange. But on Friday, they started back-to-back. They have a home back-to-back, Milwaukee Friday night, and then Minnesota on Saturday. And then Tuesday, they start another back-to-back. That is your return of Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving. Brooklyn Nets at home, and then on the road on Wednesday against Charlotte Hornets. So that's that.
For which LaMelo is now back.
LaMelo is now back. So that is 4 games, 3 of which are at home. They are each of them, it's 2 sets of back-to-backs. Milwaukee, Minnesota, Brooklyn in a big one, and Charlotte. What do you have, Dan?
So I have 3-1 with a loss to Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee has just been too good. Like they're 11-3. They're kind of in the Celtics boat of just like they're not really losing. We lost to them at full strength, quote unquote. Obviously Joel had about as bad of a game as you'll see him have, but they were playing not at full strength either. And I think that's just too tough of a game without Harden. I think they'll probably play him tough, but they don't think they don't have the men to keep up. They're too shorthanded. And then like I said, I think they win the rest. I think that think they beat Minnesota. Minnesota's had their own struggles this year.
Mhm.
I think they beat Brooklyn just because I think Brooklyn's a bit of a mess. And then I think they beat Charlotte because Charlotte's bad. Obviously LaMelo's back, but I don't think LaMelo really changes that Charlotte is bad. I don't think he actually changes. They're still really bad even with him. So that's my pick.
Emily?
Yeah, and I'm not saying this just to keep with Dan. I had it written before. I'm gonna say they lose to the Bucks and then they win against Minnesota, Brooklyn, and Charlotte.
I'm gonna say 4 wins.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they get over the Milwaukee hump with the way I think Joel's gonna, parlay his big weekend into another good performance. Like, he was terrible against Lopez the last time they played in the second game of the year, and I think that he rebounds in this one and has a big day. And I honestly, on some level, think it will help to not have Maxey and Harden guarding Milwaukee in this time and more Melton minutes, things like that. So that's what I've got. All right. Big thank you again to Alexander for coming on. That was a lot of fun. And, best of luck to him. And we hope to have him on again in the future. Again, you can follow him if you aren't already at Alex Icon Tom on Twitter. Steve J. Littman, Gastro Blues Pod, Third and Girl, the Gastro Blues Pod, a Sixers podcast. Hey, if you've been live streaming with us, thank you for doing that. DA Pelts 13. What did I say?
No, I just said.
I just said that.
You said the name, but not on YouTube.
Thank you. And that's it. Thanks for doing this, everybody, and be safe and be great. Good stuff.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, pals.